Hello everyone, we are Group C and our group members are Yufeng Lu, Hao Junzhong, Ruixuan Liu, Shen Mo, and Lin Shuali. Today we are going to do a video presentation. Firstly, let's make an introduction. The purpose of this video presentation is about providing critical analysis of some of the key issues in the international expansion of Australia firms. We have chosen Indonesia as the country we analyze. Indonesia is classified as an emerging market and the largest economy in Southeast Asia. Its economy is characterized by a diverse range of industries, including agriculture, manufacturing, service, and mining. Indonesia's GDP has been steadily growing over the years. In 2020, Indonesia's GDP was about 1.1 trillion US dollars, making it one of the world's top 20 economies. Next, let's talk about the outline of this presentation. We totally have 5 questions. Yufeng Lu will solve question 1, Hao Junzhong will solve question 2, Ruixuan Liu will solve question 3, Shen Mo will solve question 4, and Lin Shuali will solve question 5. Now, starting with question 1. Hello everyone, my name is Yufeng Lu, and I will solve question 1. The content of question 1 is how has globalization influenced the political economy of Indonesia? Explain with reference to the system that comprise our nation's political economy. What challenges might the legal system of Indonesia for an Australia firm considering establishing a presence in Indonesia? Firstly, let's talk about globalization. From the economy perspective, there are 2 main components, which are the globalization of markets and the globalization of production. The definition of the globalization of markets is the merging of markets into one global marketplace, and the process by which companies market and sell their products or services on a global scale. The definition of the globalization of production is the process of creating and marketing standardized or homogenized products and services for a global market. It involves offering products that are largely similar or identical across different countries. Then let's talk about the political economy. The political economy is the political economy of a nation refers to how the political, economic, and the legal system of a country are interdependent. Thus, we can analyze the globalization influence the political economy of Indonesia in different aspects. Indonesia's economy system is a mixture of both market and combat elements, with government activity participating in and regulating various sectors of economy, while also allowing market forces to operate in many areas. Globalization has brought about substantial changes in Indonesia's economy system. It caused the market liberalization of Indonesia. According to the globalization, Indonesia has gradually shifted from a state-controlled economy towards a more market-oriented system. Trade liberalization and the opening up of the economy to foreign investment have been key aspects of globalization in Indonesia. The globalization also caused a change about trade and investment. Globalization has opened up opportunities for Indonesia to engage in international trade and attract foreign direct investment. In political system, globalization caused the democratization. The process of globalization has often been accompanied by demands for political liberalization and democratization, which have influenced Indonesia's transition to a more democratic political system rather than a totalitarian system. In legal system, globalization caused the legal reform. Indonesia has undertaken legal reforms to align its legal system with international standards and investors' expectations. Next is about what challenge met the legal system of Indonesia for an Australia firm considering establishing a presence in Indonesia. Indonesia has civil law, higher level of corruption, and worse IP product. To compare to Indonesia, Australia has a common law, lower level of corruption, and better IP product. This means that when an Australian firm wants to establish a presence in Indonesia, they will face the challenges that they may need to engage local legal expertise, develop strong compliance programs, and establish good governance practice. Australian firms may also need to implement strong anti-corruption measures to resist the high level of the corruption. In addition, Australian firms, especially those with valuable intellectual assets, may need to increase their level of intellectual property protection in order to resist the weak enforcement of intellectual property rights. Next, Hao Junzhong will talk about the question 2.
This is the question 2. The question 2, Indonesia is the largest country in Southeast Asia to gain a comprehensive understanding of Indonesia's economic and human development levels. We talk into the relevant concepts and measures associated with these two crucial domains. First is the economic level. First is the GDP. GDP is a fundamental indicator for figuring a nation's overall economic size. According to Indonesia Central Statistics Agency data, Indonesia's GDP has constantly grown over the past few decades, significant sign its potential as an emerging market. Next is FDI reflects the extent of foreign companies' investment in the Indonesian market. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development data, Indonesia has made significant strides in attacking foreign investment, especially in the manufacturing and natural resource sectors. The international trade, Indonesia is a significant player in global trade, with both export and exports playing vital roles. Key exports from Indonesia include natural gas, palm oil, and electronic products. Next is human development level. The HDI assess factors such as the quality of life, education, and health. According to the United Nations Development Programme's data, Indonesia HDI has shown a consistent uptrend, reflecting improvements in human development. The education level, education is a cornerstone of human development. The Indonesian government has continuously worked on improving the quality and accessibility of education, spanning from primary to higher education. The healthcare system, a robust healthcare system, is vital of human development. The Indonesian government has been investing in healthcare infrastructure and service, aiming to enhance citizens' overall health. And the next, in consider establishing a business in Indonesia, Australian companies need to take into account both this area of assignment. If the company is focused on the short-term returns and market share, Indonesia's economic development level may take precedence. However, if the company value long-term sustainability and social responsibility, the human development level might become a critical factor in the decision-making progress. So for Australian companies that are considering setting up a supervisory business in Indonesia, the level of economic development is often important, particularly in terms of the following metrics. The first is the market size and potential. As one of the largest countries in Southeast Asia, Indonesia has a huge market. According to the World Bank, Indonesia's population is estimated at more than 270 million people, meaning potential silence and projects could be even more. Higher level of economic development are also often associated with more supervised projects and business opportunities. Next is project funding and investment. Supervision business typically requires significant investment. The level of economic development in Indonesia determines the availability of project funds and the scale of the project. High GDP and FDI levels help support the implementary of large supervision projects, the government support and the policy environment. The Indonesian government has been actively promoting the development of the infrastructure and the construction sector, which provide more business opportunities for supervision companies. The level of economic development usually reflects the government's commitment to economic development and may be beneficial to the development of the supervision business. And the last is the competition and industry metric. A high level of economic development is usually accompanied by more competition in the market, but it can also mean more customers and potential partners. The supervisory business usually requires highly competitive companies, and market maturity may correlate with the level of competition. And in conclusion, while the level of human development is also important, level of economic development is more likely to be important for Australian companies to establish a supervision business in Indonesia, given the large scale of project funding and market size that supervision business often requires. However, companies should maintain a focus on economic and human development to ensure sustainability and socially responsible business options. And next is Kevin Liu.
Thanks to Gordon. My name is Ruixuan Liu. I'm going to talk about question 3. Here's what I'm going to say. First, we will assess the cultural distance between Indonesia and Australia using two relevant series. The first one is Geert Hofstede's Cultural Dimensions. Geert Hofstede's Cultural Dimensions theory provides valuable insights into the cultural differences between countries. Two dimensions stand out when comparing Indonesia and Australia. First one is power distance. Power distance in Indonesia, there's a big emphasis on respecting and centralizing authority, creating a society with a clear hierarchy. On the other hand, Australia has a lower power distance, valuing equality and fairness. This difference can sometimes lead to misunderstandings in both business and social interactions. The second one is individualism and collectivism. Australia is more focused on individualism, valuing personal success and self-expression. On the other hand, Indonesia leans towards collectivism, prioritizing group harmony and loyalty. These differences can impact negotiation styles and teamwork in multicultural settings. The second theory, high and low context culture. Edward T. Hall's theory divides cultures into high or low context based on how they communicate. Indonesia can be seen as a high context culture, where context and nonverbal cues play a big role in communication. On the other hand, Australia tends to lean more towards a low context culture, putting emphasis on explicit and direct communication. The next thing we are going to do is analyze the cultural convergence or divergence between Australia and Indonesia, which is a pretty complex test that involves different factors of culture, like social, economic, political, and historical factors. The term cultural convergence refers to when two or more cultures become more and more similar over time, while cultural divergence means that the cultures become more distinct or different. The thing is, I'm really digging deep into this. We need to consider various factors of these cultures. The first one is language and communication. Australia mostly speak English, while Bahasa Indonesia is the official language of Indonesia. Even though many Indonesians learn English, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a blending of languages. Language differences are an important factor of cultural diversity. The second one is religion. Religion plays a huge role in shaping culture. Australia is mostly Christian, while Indonesia is mainly Muslim. These religious differences show that the cultures are quite different from each other. The third one is cuisine and food habits. The food culture can bring in people together or set them apart. The food culture in Australia and Indonesia is getting more and more interested in each other's cuisine, but both countries still hold on to their unique culinary traditions. So it's like a mix of coming together and doing your own things when it comes to food. The fourth one is economics and political relations. Economic and political factors can impact cultural convergence. Australia and Indonesia have a strong economic tie, which can lead to cultural exchange through business interactions. However, differences in politics and historical events like the East Timor crisis have caused a divergence in political relations. Finally, here comes to social values and norms. Social values and norms reflect cultural identity. Australia is known for its Western values that prioritize individualism, while Indonesia has a collectivist culture with a strong emphasis on religion and the community. These differences suggest that the two countries have distinct cultural biases. In conclusion, the cultures of Australia and Indonesia appear to be more disparate than similar due to differences in language, religion, social values, and other factors, where there is some convergence in certain factors like cuisine and economic. These two countries continue to maintain their unique cultural identities. Now let's invite Samuel to talk about question 5. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Shenmo. Thanks to the last student's speech. And now I will speak about the rules of the fourth question. First of all, Adam Smith's theories about absolute advantage advocates that a country should specialize in producing goods more efficiently than other countries and produce goods and services on a large scale by comparing the cost. And David Ricardo extended Smith's theory and proposed the theory of comparative advantage. Comparative advantage means that the profit margin of a country's investment and output in the industry is larger than that of other countries with similar advantages. It only needs one or two specialized industries to produce, and then all other industries use the import methods to supplement the domestic market, which is called comparative advantage. He believes that even if a country has an absolute advantage in the production of all commodities, it must have its own optimal development commodities. Specializing in the production of commodities in which it has comparative advantages. It can be produced at a lower opportunity cost, and he believes that countries should rigorously divide industries with comparative advantage between them. Now let's apply this series to Indonesia. Indonesia is a diversified economy with many industries, including agriculture, mining, manufacture, service, and so on. Each of these sectors may have its own comparative or absolute advantage. And using Adam Smith's theory of absolute advantage, Indonesia may specialize in producing agricultural products such as palm oil, rubber, or coffee because its climate is perfect. Natural resources are abundant and labor costs are low, so it can maximize its profits. David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage emphasizes that Indonesia should focus on industries in which it has a comparative advantage. For example, in Indonesia's textile industry, because of their abundant labor costs are low, so Indonesia can produce textiles at a lower opportunity cost, even if it does not have an absolute advantage. Then it should specialize in textiles and trade with countries that have a comparative advantage in other industries, such as spending most of their money supplying international demand. And in the context of Indonesia, it is necessary to consider both theories, but David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage is more appropriate. Because Indonesia is a country with multiple resources and capabilities, by identifying its comparative advantage in various industries and focusing on them, such as textiles, Indonesia can maximize its profits for international trade. Secondly, by focusing on industries where Indonesia has a comparative advantage and resource can be allocated efficiently and mutually beneficial trade can be conducted with other countries. Therefore, the Indonesian government should give priority to the theory of comparative advantage when engaged in international trade. And my point of view is finished. Let's invite the next student to make his speech. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sending. Next, I will explain the question 5. The government of Indonesia has employed a variety of trade policy tools to regulate its international trade. Those tools are designed to protect domestic industries, manage its balance of payment, and achieve other economic objectives. Here are some of trade policy tools that Indonesia has used. Tariffs. Indonesia has implemented both the volume and specific tariffs on various imported goods. Tariffs are used to protect domestic industries from foreign competition and to generate revenue for the government. And the non-tariff barriers, those include import quotas, licensing requirements, product standards, and other administrative and technical measures. For instance, Indonesia has had occasionally imposed import quotas on certain agriculture products to protect domestic farmers. Export restriction. Indonesia has at times imposed the restrictions on the export of certain raw materials to ensure domestic supply. For example, the government had placed bans or restrictions on the export of raw minerals to encourage domestic processing. Trade agreements. Indonesia is a member of Association of Southeast Asian Nations and has entered into several regional trade agreements, such as the ASEAN Free Trade Area. Those agreements aim to reduce trade barriers among member countries. And investment incentives. The government offers various incentives to attract foreign direct investment in certain sectors, which can indirectly influence trade patterns. And exchange rate policy will not direct trade policy too. The management of the exchange rate can influence trade. A weaker rupiah can make Indonesian export cheaper and import more expensive, potentially benefiting domestic industries. And the next is international trade service ported. The use of this trade policy instruments by Indonesia can be linked to the mercantilist and infant industry argument series. For mercantilism, this theory persists that country should export more than they import. Accumulating wealth in the form of gold and foreign exchange reserve by imposing tariffs and other barriers. Indonesia can reduce imports, favoring a positive trade balance. For infant industry argument, this theory is just that new or infant industries in developing countries need protection from foreign competition until they become mature and can compete on equal footing. Indonesia's use of tariffs and NTBs to protect certain domestic industries such as agriculture or manufacturing aligns with this theory. The next is illustrative example. Tariffs on luxury goods. Indonesia has imposed high tariffs on luxury goods such as luxury car and yachts. This not only generates revenue but also protects domestic industries and manages consumption patterns. Restrictions on mineral export by restricting the export of raw minerals. Indonesia aims to develop its domestic mineral processing industries, providing them with a competitive advantage. And agricultural quotas by imposing quotas on the import of certain agriculture products. Indonesia protects its domestic farmers from foreign competition, ensuring they get a fair price of their produce. Thank you for watching. And here is our reference list.